All right, as promised, we welcome former Premier League official Peter Walton into the show. Peter, VAR, the topic of conversation this weekend, especially as it pertains to the Liverpool-West Brom match. So much so, everybody was talking about it, including our own Craig Burley, who offered these tweets via social media. Liverpool back four still as slow as the VAR. Oh, Craig wasn't done yet. Next up after VAR will be a timeout. So the criticism, the complaints coming from every angle. Peter, what do you make of all the criticism?
So, yeah, the criticism is cited, but first of all, let's just pare everything back. Were the decisions correct? The decisions were correct. The items that people are now talking about are how long it took, the communications, and the tangibles around the decision. So if we say that VAR was brought in to correct clear and obvious errors, it did that at the weekend, so it's done its job. And we're now into the phase of, OK, how can we do it better? How can these guys get quicker? How can we communicate better with the stadium, with the players? And how can we move forward? But basically, it was done right.
Craig, we saw your tweets. Did it really bother you that much?
Sorry?
Did it really bother you that much?
The length of it bothered me. The length of it bothered me, particularly the Salah decision on the penalty, which I think took something like 4 minutes in between the incident and the penalty being taken. And also the Matip on goal was a clear onside that, by the way, would have taken a couple of angles on the 18-yarder and it would have been sorted. So my question, Pete, is why is it taking so long?
Yes, OK. Well, we have discussed before, the mandate now is clear and obvious. And the penalty one, was it a clear and obvious tug on the attacker? I think it was, and I think they got the decision correct. Yeah. Unfortunately, in the VAR booth back in London, they were looking at all angles just to make sure, and time ticked on. They want to be absolutely certain. I think with a little bit more experience, Andre Mariner was the VAR, and maybe that was his third game. So after 30 games, I think he'll be much more quicker, much more slicker, and get the information back down onto the pitch side ASAP. So that 4 minutes, I think, is stretching it a little bit. And ask me the same question after he's done maybe 20, 30 games, and we won't be discussing time.
They'd never make co-commentators, these referees, would they? They'd never make colour commentators, as you call it here, or co-commentators, we call it. We're sat in a gantry saying, if you can just give me 4 minutes and I'll give you a decision on this. I thought the whole process was should have been quite simplistic.
Yeah, look, in fairness, yes, it did take a length of time. It has raised its profile for the wrong reasons, and those reasons will be looked at for sure. And they're being looked at around the world, not just in the English Premier League, but around the world where people are conducting this test for IFAB. And as part of that test is, how do we get the process quicker? And that will come with time, that will come with practice, and will come with expertise. And ultimately, I think the same decision, given the same consequences, this time next year, much more slicker, and we won't see players waiting around for 4 minutes as they were at the weekend.
I think it would be important, however, that you also not only make it clear to the players, to the coaches, but also to the fans as to what's going on. So if you have stadiums that have the capabilities of doing so, they do it here in the NFL. When they're showing replay and there is a decision that they're looking into, they show it on the screen, and you know exactly what is it that the referee is taking a look at. Make sure that the fans also know and participate in what the decision that is being made, so that there isn't any sort of wonder as to what's going on behind closed doors, so that it is an open system and we see exactly the same replays that the referees are looking at.
No, but at the same time, I think there are cultural differences with that. I was playing in a game, this would have been back in '95, I think it was, against Spurs, and they were showing replays on the big screen. It was apparently that should have been given, that wasn't. But obviously this is all pre-VAR. They're just showing the replays on the big screen in the stadium. And there was outrage from both managers on both benches that they didn't want the replays to be shown. So you don't get that kind of...
That's back in your day, Shaq. We're in a different world now.
I accept it. We're also talking about a different sport. And maybe there are cultural differences, there are sporting differences as to maybe why you don't want that. Now, for me, the time that they take over VAR, I don't have an issue with. I have no problem at all. It's a new technology being introduced, regardless of whether it's sport or some other industry. As long as you have new technology coming in, there are going to be teething issues. You are going to have to figure out protocols. How the debate has now moved from whether we want right decisions or whether we prefer right decisions over a period of time, or we're happy to accept wrong decisions as long as we get them quickly. It's farcical to me. Take your time, get it right.
Yeah, but that's fine if you're sat at home.
No,
It's fine if you're sat at home, right? But if you're sat at home and you're watching all the replays and you're involved in this dramatics, you might enjoy that. If you're at the ground, and as Ali said, if you haven't got a big screen, you're at the ground and you're the paying customer. You're sitting there, and your son or your daughter or your friends going, what's happening here, Daddy? You're like, I haven't got a clue.
The experience in a stadium and at home is totally different,
But
regardless of
that's the
VAR.
paying customer.
Yes, but at the same time, you're sitting in the stadium.
He's got a right to know what's going on.
You're sitting in Anfield, you're not going to see replays of Salah's goal
You've
on the weekend.
got a right to know what's going on if the play's broken up for 3 or 4 minutes. One of the issues with
what greater right do they have? You don't have a right when the referee doesn't have VAR. You don't have second looks.
Well, the game doesn't get stopped for 4 minutes unless somebody's down with a broken leg or a bad injury.
So then my issue is, never mind right or wrong decision, it's about the time. And if the discussion here is right decision over 4 minutes or wrong decision quickly, that for me becomes a farce.
One of the issues with the big screens at grounds and the lack of replays, and Peter will know this obviously, is they didn't want to put anything on that was controversial for fear of inciting the supporters. Well, we've got to go over that hurdle. If that's the kind of Neanderthals that we've got going to the games, we've got big problems. Yeah. But they're going to have to introduce this, Pete. They're going to have to get, and I don't know if all the grounds in England or around Europe have got big screens, but they're going to have to improve the fan experience if this is going to work.
Absolutely right, Craig. And what you say there makes complete sense for once. So well done on that. But, in terms of that, in terms of the big screen, yeah, Anfield doesn't have a big screen, but that will be put right. But of course, I don't think they'll be investing just yet because we are in a testing phase. We don't know if IFAB's going to give the OK to this. But going back to the actual comms itself, IFAB are looking at ways now of showing the definitive angle to the crowd in the stadium, so they know exactly what the adjudication is. And if they don't have that definitive angle to show because there's no screen there, some way of verbal communication from the fourth official or an official to the crowd so they know exactly what's happened. This is part of the experiment that's been devised at the moment. Not quite there yet, but clearly we need to do something on the communication to get everybody involved.
All right, the reports are that the team will start play in 2020. No name yet for David Beckham's expansion franchise. You have to ask the question, though, Herc, will it work? Because it has already not worked once in Miami with the Fusion.
Well, it didn't work the first go-around, this go-around. Everybody keeps bringing up Atlanta. Atlanta was also considered a very fickle sports town, and Atlanta's been a massive hit in Major League Soccer. Can they build or go about it the same mode? I don't know if they can. I think they've got to go big picture with that, get big star power to draw those fans in. We've spoken about this off the air. It's an event town. You need to really draw that star power. I don't know if they'll be able to do it and replicate what Atlanta's done, but there's certainly a lot of buzz. It's 4.5 years in the making, long time coming. I'm excited to see what they can do.
Well, it's been 4.5 years in the making, and I think that tells you all the challenges that you need to know about. What I'm most concerned about is that, okay, you tune into this announcement and you're hoping to get some clarity as to what the direction of this club is going to be and this franchise is going to be. There were no details. Everything was in general terms, and while I'm excited for the people in Miami and excited for MLS to go into South Florida once again, I think we got to kind of push on the brakes here for a second and start asking the questions and say, okay, what is it that this franchise is going to do? Where are they going to play? What's the name of the team? What's the direction of the franchise? What is the philosophy? And some of the details that go into putting a franchise in place in any league and in any sport. None of those things were made public today. None of the things were talked about today. I'm sure that information will come out at some point, but today there was no more than just an announcement.
You know, and also with this going on, it's kind of bittersweet when we talk about another franchise sprouting up when we still don't have clarity on Columbus' situation and what's going to happen with Columbus. So that's looming as well. It just kind of leaves a bitter taste in the mouth.
As you mentioned, Ale, no name, no logo, no colors. I think a lot of people were hoping that they'd get that out of today's announcements. Let's bring Ian Dark. Ian, I want to get your perspective here. What's been the reaction in England to this?
Well, it's going to hit a few headlines, and knowing the British journalists as I do, I don't think they'll take a lot of persuading to be sipping an orange juice or something stronger on the beach in Miami and going over to try to talk to David Beckham. I know from this range, it looks like a glitzy, glamorous addition, but I can see the kind of problems that the guys are talking about there. They've got to establish themselves. They've got to become a power. It can't just be Brand Beckham. He's talking about luring top European names to Miami. Well, talk's cheap. Let's see what happens.
Daniel Sturridge apparently on a loan move from Liverpool to West Brom. Good move for Sturridge?
Well, I don't know if it's a good move for Sturridge, but it's a real coup for Alan Pardew and West Bromwich Albion, who are in the bottom three. Newcastle wanted him. I think Inter Milan were interested as well. And, of course, it wasn't long ago, only a couple of seasons, that he was terrorising defences alongside Luis Suarez for Liverpool, and he was a very hot property. But he's gone out to the fringes these days. Jurgen Klopp, I don't think, has ever really fancied him. Remember, he's born in Birmingham, not too far from West Bromwich Albion. He's got a few friends at the club. It is a surprise choice, and it'll be interesting to see whether he can revive his career there. But it's a great one for Alan Pardew, especially following on from that win they had in the Cup at Liverpool at the weekend.
West Brom into Milan. But I think, and Newcastle were supposedly desperate from West Ham. Another Xhaka's old team was supposed to be interested. But I think and Ian's right, he is a Midlands boy. Whether that factored in much, I don't know. I think one of the factors is, jokingly about Inter Milan, is the fact that West Brom is going to play. If fit, he should play. Their style wouldn't normally suit his style, but with the change in management, I think that would have eased somewhat. The other side of the coin is, I think in his mind, he still thinks he's good enough, if playing regular and West Brom are playing well, to potentially get himself on that plane to Russia in the summer for England's World Cup. So there's lots of factors here that maybe come into why he's gone to West Brom, but I think game time, moving to the Midlands, and getting in the eye line of Gareth Southgate again with the World Cup in mind, I think would be the big factors.
The question for Daniel Sturridge is not whether he's good enough to be in Russia. I think he's a tremendously talented player. The issue is whether he can stay fit. And we haven't seen any evidence over the last couple of seasons to suggest that we should trust in any way the body of Daniel Sturridge. And oh, by the way, he himself doesn't have any evidence that he can trust his body. I just don't see how Daniel Sturridge becomes the player that he was when he was alongside Luis Suarez. His body keeps betraying him, and he cannot stay fit. A player that doesn't stay fit is a useless player.
But at the same time, if you're a club in the position of West Brom, West Ham or Newcastle in desperate need of goals and looking for somebody to fill that void, I feel Daniel Sturridge is one you turn to, and you work closely with him in trying to manage his minutes, trying to, in lieu of his injury issues. I think it's a gamble worth taking. And after all, you're down near the bottom, in the bottom three, for a reason. And any gamble is one that ultimately you find value in.
You got Jay Rodriguez, can he fit again, looking more like the player he was at Southampton. He can get about the field, he can make runs, he can work the channel. He's back amongst the goals. You've got Solomon Rondon, Ali's countryman, who's big and physical. It just, if fit, gives you another dimension that West Brom don't have that might be the difference between getting out that bottom three and getting survival or going into the Championship.
Welcome into Extra Time. Craig Burley, Shaka Hislop, Alejandro Moreno, Sebastian Salazar, Ian Dark, even joining us here for this special segment.
It's late there.
There it is.
It's late.
Look, falling asleep. Look.
It looks like it's late.
Wake up!
Normally tucks up in his bed at this time with a cup of cocoa and a good book. There he is.
Cup of Horlicks. Do you drink Horlicks?
No, he's got stats. He's got tucked up his Horlicks and his commentator stat pack.
I was asleep an hour ago.
Does Extra Time always go off the rails this early when Dan's here?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No, it goes off. It never gets back on.
Hey, don't make this about you. It has nothing to do with you hosting.
Okay, good. Good. I wanted to know that. Shaquille Davis wants to
Do you want
know.
the rules? Before we start.
Sure, go ahead.
Right. No mention, in fact, that Jonathan Gonzalez has chosen to play for Mexico.
Here we go.
No mentioning the poxy team that the US put out in that game against Bosnia, because it shouldn't even have been an international. It was a
So I can't talk about anything that I'm interested in.
Is that what you're interested in?
Yeah, I am interested in those things.
Are you interested in those things? Why can't you go over and your mucker, your old mate, Herc, why can't you go over that Jonathan Gonzalez has chosen Mexico? Because you could have sent an army down there to his house. Wouldn't have mattered. He's made his mind up. What's difficult to understand about that?
But now he's going to talk about it, Craig.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to do it. But
I thought we were laying out the rules here.
I do think you've oversimplified things a bit. For further detail, I encourage you to download the Max and Herc podcast. You know, when you're doing your workout tomorrow.
Put me in the chair.
Yeah. All right.
Strap me in.
He's still trying to figure out how to get his collars straight. Talk about doing a workout.
I know, these collars keep... And just...
Somebody send Craig some collar stains. Can we get on that?
I ordered them during the show when you were talking.
Okay.
Straight on to there, Amazon, one click, bosh. They'll be there tomorrow.
Very well.
Mark my words. Are you on tomorrow?
I am. Can you bring some for me? Because I actually could use some as well.
All right.
You want me to take some down to Jonathan Gonzalez's house?
Well, he
See if I can
probably
talk
needs
him
them
out
as
of it?
well. Yeah.
I'm sure Ian wanted to stay up late to hear this.
You'll understand.
But I'm
how
beginning
Craig's-
to think, guys, I'm beginning to think that Craig Burley's Jonathan Gonzalez's agent. Because he's
The
giving
amount
him
he
so
brings him
many
up.
mentions the last few
you're
weeks.
wrong. Craig was just trying to tell the world that he's an
only-
Amazon Prime member. That's all. That's all he's trying. All this was about Amazon Prime.
I'm only reacting...
One click,
Free,
Yeah.
2-day shipping.
One click and I bought them all.
I'm only reacting, Ian, to people that can't let it go.
Why are you looking at?
Nobody said anything. You said it first.
No, because Seb's mate,
Thanks, bud.
that guy over there's mate, said I was just let it go. He's chosen to play for Mexico.
Nothing more humbling when the guy you're working with forgets your name.
This is how important you
I
are.
have made it. I really have. Let's get to the questions
on
here.
his
Well, yes, you're not here that often. That's why I
that's
couldn't remember.
right. Yeah, hard to remember. All right, Shaquille wants to know, Shaka.
Yeah.
Do you
Sorry,
think? Do you think Alisson is the answer to Liverpool in net? If not, who do you want to see Liverpool go after realistically?
Realistically, Donnarumma. I don't think Liverpool have the right goalkeeper on their books right now. As much as they chop and they change, until they go after a talent like Donnarumma, I think they're going to continue having these issues.
Craig, next question seems like it might be up your alley.
Oh, really?
Joe wants to know, do you...
You're pigeonholing me in a corner here.
You're
No, I'm setting you up
you're assuming you know
to
what
play
his
to
alley
your
is.
strengths. That's what a good teammate does.
What does it say?
Do you think that Olivier Giroud will have an
I'm going to
impact
try and read that. But
if he moves from Arsenal to Chelsea? You need the glasses.
well, they need a... Sorry, what was it?
You need the glasses if you're going to read that.
I'm not... Giroud to Chelsea?
Yeah. What kind of impact?
Well, they've been looking for a big target man, big player, so... I mean, he's better than the ones they've been looking at, allegedly.
Ian, what do you
That's a
think?
strange one.
Giroud's always got goals in the Premier League. That's an interesting one. He needs to play because he wants to get in that French squad for the World Cup. He's longing to play. I'd be a bit surprised, really, if Arsenal let him go to Chelsea, but it does seem to be on the cards a bit.
You'd be surprised if he went to Chelsea?
I would rather have Dzeko if I'm Chelsea. However, if this is what's available and Dzeko's not coming, I think Giroud is a good option.
Upgrade over Batshuayi for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but Batshuayi, for whatever reason, hasn't featured for Conte at all. Doesn't make a part of his plans. I mean, the thing for... It makes no sense for Arsenal to sell him, but at the same time, Giroud doesn't seem to want to leave London.
No, he doesn't.
So it don't make, it's...
He was going to Everton. He was going to Everton in the summer, and the player himself, I believe, turned it down because he didn't want to leave London. But you can.
So it's forcing Arsenal's options in terms of who they can sell, who they can
We might
offload him to.
have to send some people round his house, and try and talk him into.
Yeah.
That could make a big difference. I would just saying. And then those people will have to actually go to the house.
Not say they went to the house.
I'm just leaving that out there.
Yeah. No, it's good to be truthful.
I think Craig's already listened to the podcast.
I know, but
You know an awful lot about Jonathan Gonzalez.
I'm ahead of the curve. I know it's on tomorrow's podcast today.
There you go.
You're ahead of A curve.
It's the same as last week.
All right, we have limped to the last question here from Srinjoy.
I'll never get asked on that podcast.
We would love to have you, I'm sure.
The answer's no.
Okay. Well, I don't book it, so.
Why did you fall into that trap? He was clearly setting you up. I mean, he was fishing. He was fishing in a barrel, man.
I'm sorry.
Simple. Fishing in a barrel.
I'm sorry. It was just too much. It's too much.
All right, last question from Strinjoy. Really, guys, why do you think Jonathan Gonzalez chose Mexico? No, that's not the question. Better deal. Sturridge to West Brom, or you were talking about this, Ale, Delafeo to Watford.
Delafeo. If you're Delafeo.
Okay, so clearly not Delafeo.
If you're Delafeo, you were at Barcelona, you were with Messi. Now, that's all right. You got Richarlison at Watford. There we go, baby. That's it. That's it.
I don't know much about Watford. How does it compare to Barcelona?
It doesn't.
Well, the beach is not quite as nice. My son was born in Watford, my oldest one.
Oh, great.
There you go. That's my
Contribution.
my Watford contribution.
I think
And he accuses me of stats.
I think De La Feu knew that. That was part of his thinking.
Well, that's not a stat, Darky. That's a fact.
I've just written it down, don't worry, just before I go to bed. Craig Burley, Watford.
Watford. Nah.
You over it? We over it tonight? Yeah, this seems like about as good as time as any to wrap it up.
Yeah.
So,
Don't worry about that. It was just a little joke earlier when I reeled you in and you took the bait.
thank you very much. We appreciate Ian's time. Craig,
Man, I thought you would have learned by now.
Shaka, Ali, I'm Seb.
It's only Monday.
Guys will be back. ESPN News Tuesday,
You will?
6 p.m. Actually, I won't be here. I'll be working on the podcast.
Normally, the ESPN FC transfer rater, we get Craig Burley to say if he thinks it's going to be a hit or a miss. These 5, a lot of them are pretty much near certainty. So I want to talk about the players going to the clubs, but I want to start off with Zlatan. Jose Mourinho at his press conference today, Craig, said they wouldn't stand in his way, they would help him if he wanted to leave. Nice exclusive ESPN FC yesterday about LA Galaxy. What do you think?
I understand United's stance, and at the time when he picked up that cruciate and it looked like his career might be over, people were saying United were going to throw him on the scrap heap. That's not the way that club does business, not the way most clubs do business. His relationship with Mourinho's good. They've got Sanchez in, they've got Rashford, they've got Martial, they've got Lukaku. Clearly at this stage of his career, this could be a big move. So I'm going to put hit, because we don't know if it's going to happen. It might happen, but I think it would be good for him, and I think it would be good for the league. Obviously, there seems to be some draw to LA for a lot of players. Not many of them going to the cold parts of the country. I understand, but I think that could be good all round. He's still fit enough, I think, and it would be a bit of a statement. Even though he's the wrong side of mid-30s, it still would be a big statement for a big player to come here.
Manchester City have agreed to break their club record transfer fee. They have met the clause in Aymeric Laporte's contract. It's very rare for a club to break their own transfer fee on a player who isn't even an international yet for France.
No, and again, we're just going to go here because it looks like it is going to happen. It's kind of strange turnaround because Johnny Evans was talked about for a long time, including last summer, and now Pep's gone back he's gone to Spain for a French player. Clearly a good player. Clearly the manager sees something in him. Clearly they need somebody at the back to cover. Vincent Kompany played at the weekend, but we know he's got injury problems.
Yeah, does he even start? That's the thing.
Going to Man City and guaranteeing yourself a start is not in anybody's book unless you're maybe De Bruyne or David Silva.
Because Stones hasn't been as good as he was.
No, he's in a little period where the sloppiness has come back, and I think this is just a little reminder as well as bulking up the squad.
Aubameyang to Arsenal to team up again with Mkhitaryan. If I'm an Arsenal fan, finally I'm thinking it's about time we've been linked with players and we'll probably get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, there she is. This could turn out to be a good transfer window for Arsenal because they get the player out that they knew they were going to lose, and they get potentially 2 players in. Somebody was asking me today, would he play in the right? Because sometimes he had to play in the right at Dortmund, especially when I think Lewandowski was there. Would that be right?
Yep.
But I'm like, well, hold on. You got to shoehorn in Aubameyang, got to shoehorn in Mkhitaryan, you got to shoehorn in Mesut Ozil. So if you want to put that on top of Lacazette, you've got to have a bloody good midfield and back 4. So I don't think they're strong enough. Don't see the point of doing that. Would come in at the expense of Lacazette, probably sitting on the bench, flanked by Ozil and Mkhitaryan. Looks like good business if his disciplinary problems he keeps to a minimal.
Yeah.
You know how I'm a big stickler on discipline.
Yeah, you never had any.
Make sure you get there on time.
No issues at all.
You were late
during
today.
His career.
Now there's a player that needs to play.
Yeah, and the Newcastle fans thought he was going there, but it looks like he's off to West Brom on loan.
So I'm going to put a hit, but I just don't know where, because Benitez has been moaning, and the Newcastle fans say, oh, this could be all right. Well, some will say, you know, well, he's injury prone, he's not going to play. He's a quality player, needs to play. As you say, West Brom look like they're potentially coming in. Big win for them at Liverpool at the weekend. They're in big trouble down the bottom. Alan Pardew needs players that have struggled for goals of late, apart from obviously the FA Cup at the weekend. He would give them that on a loan or an incentivised basis. So he's going to go. West Brom, it looks likely.
Finally, before we talk about the Roma goalkeeper maybe on his way, If he doesn't go to Newcastle, Sturridge, when it looked like he might have done, what message does that send out to the Newcastle fans, to Rafa, and that people have not given up hope, but if they can't get their targets, what a mess, both on and off the pitch.
Well, Benitez is never shy to talk about it in the press conferences, so we'll probably hear about that. Newcastle fans just want Ashley out. But Mike Ashley's got his rights, and sorry for digressing, to sell that club for what he thinks is worth.
Of course.
He owns it, and if people don't want to pay the right price, he's not going to sell it. So yeah, it's going to be a frustrating end to the season for Newcastle fans. It might be a worrying one, and if they don't get players in of quality, it could be the championship for them.
Now, this Brazilian's 25 years old, couldn't get a game for Roma last year because of Wojciech Szczesny. Now, he's played in every single World Cup qualifier for Brazil ahead of the Manchester City goalkeeper. He's a good player, and Liverpool need a goalkeeper.
So Szczesny, unwanted at Arsenal, and then he's keeping him out of the team. Would be a slight worry, but maybe he's got his confidence back. He's obviously playing well. You mentioned that he's playing regular for Brazil ahead of a very good goalkeeper, and we've seen that at Man City and Ederson. Liverpool's need is bordering on desperation, right? Because Karius and Mignolet ain't good enough. One of them's okay for a backup, but as a mainline goalkeeper, not good enough. There's been talk of one or two others, Kevin Trapp at PSG. It's just whether Klopp does the business now or waits to the end of the season. I don't know. But yeah, people have been talking about him, particularly his recent performances for Roma, which have been excellent. But I tell you what, that Liverpool back four can make you look pretty average.
You know what it's like? It's like a kitchen sink with two big holes. One hole was filled in by Virgil van Dijk, but they've still got another hole. There's no point spending 75 million if you're not going to get a goalkeeper. This kid is good, so I'm a lot commentated on him when he was at Internacional of Porto Alegre. He's decent, but can they get the job done? That's today's Transfer Rater here on ESPNFC.com. Time to predict the midweek card in the Premier League with Craig Burley, the former Chelsea midfielder. We've got 3 games Tuesday. Let's get to them first. Swansea, Arsenal.
No, I'm going to go for an Arsenal win.
Okay.
Carvajal's come in, done a good job. Got that replay in the FA Cup's not ideal, but no, I'm going to go for Arsenal. Big trouble, I think, at Swansea ahead, even with a new manager.
Huddersfield, Liverpool. I sometimes feel Liverpool, you see the best of them on their travels.
See the best of them against the better teams and the worst of them against the worst teams. However, I just think, off back of the last couple of performances, League and FA Cup, not good enough. Back to winning ways, back in the goals.
Now, he's not got his problems to seek, David Moyes. He's got players that can't keep their spit in their mouth. He's got injured players. Arnautovic is a blow. Lanzini's out injured. West Ham against Palace, who know how to fight.
Well, they didn't know how to fight in the first 20 minutes at the Emirates.
No, fair play.
But you are right. They've been fighting. That's why they're not in the bottom of the table anymore. And Roy Hodgson's done a good job. But I'm going to go for a draw. I think Moyes was right. FA Cup, we got to worry about the league. So they went out, and you're going to go for Palace. Yep. I'm going to go for a draw there. Okay. At the what do you call that stadium now? I was going to mix with the Olympic Stadium.
The London Stadium.
The London Stadium, the awful stadium. They can't see the pitch stadium. Whatever. Going for a draw.
Should you call it the moon? Because it's got no atmosphere. Chelsea against... That was awful. Chelsea against... Look at his face. Chelsea, Bournemouth. Hands up.
I don't know him.
That's quite good. Chelsea, Bournemouth.
I'm going to go for Chelsea. But
is there a debate?
Well, yeah, but they're not playing well at all. Not playing well.
Did all right at the weekend. Don't give me that face again.
They've not... Things are always not well.
They were poor against Arsenal, I'll get you.
They were so up and down. That's what I'm going to go for. But I'm going to go for Chelsea at home to Bournemouth. Surely that could be the end. I mean, they've got Barcelona coming up, so they've got to get some momentum going. That's momentum, by the way, in case you ask.
I think there'll be goals in Everton, Leicester. Are you picking a side of the fence?
Yeah, I'm actually. Wow. Yeah, I'm going to go for Leicester. I really like what Claude Puel's doing. I thought Southampton were absolutely crazy to sack him. I know Everton are well organised. That was a big blow losing McCarthy with a broken leg. So I'm going to go for Leicester, who are sitting 7th in the league as we speak.
Desmond for this one. 2-2.
What, Man City Albion?
No, the previous one.
Ah, right. Well, even though Albion got a great win at Liverpool, I'm not looking past Manchester City, who are going to wrap this Premier League title up sooner rather than later. Now we're... this is where we're doing some real fence sitting. How long's a piece of string? I mean...
Twice half its length.
OK, I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to sit in the fence and go for a draw here.
They know how to go to places that are tough to go and get a 0-0. So I can get that. I'm going to go Harry Kane to get the winner in a 1-0. But, I mean, a couple of big games coming up for Liverpool and Man United. Newcastle against Burnley. That's a big game for both sides.
Well,
especially
most often Newcastle. I'm going to go for a draw again. I think because Burnley going away from home, so well organised. They'll look to hit in the counter, frustrate. I'm going to go for a draw, another point on the road for Burnley. You're going to go for a home win.
I think they have to. They're going to have to pick up the points sometime.
Yeah.
Southampton, Brighton, bit of a niggle in this one, the old South Coast rivalry.
Yeah, as struggling as Southampton have been, I'm going to go for a Saints win. I don't like what the manager's doing there. I think it's dull and boring, even worse than the previous manager. But a little bit of a South Coast battle. I'm going to go for a Southampton win. I think they're in the bottom three. They are in the bottom three. They are struggling, and they could be heading down towards there. So big game on the South Coast.
Your former teammate is going to take Stoke City up the table. He started off. Yes, he is. He started off well. He's had them in for double sessions. I'll take this.
That old chestnut.
Hey, Shaqiri will...
No phones in the training ground. Got to be in at a certain time. I've heard it all before. It only lasts so long. And change the diet. Oh, I've not heard that before.
Shaqiri will be their main man.
And he's not called me yet, by the way, to go in and be his assistant or help him. But I'm waiting. Was that the phone ringing?
Would you rather go there or stand beside a touchscreen with me?
At Stoke. They've been really poor. I mean, they're heading south.
You coach? Javi Gracia.
We're new coach. We could come here next week. Watford have a new coach. That's what they do. I'm going to go for a draw. Not convinced that you just don't allow mobile phones in the club and all of a sudden. I'm going to go for a draw for Lambo, my old teammate, and I'm still waiting a phone call. I am available if you need any help.
Lambo, do us a favour. Phone him. Get him away from us, please. He doesn't even like...